viewers, you're reminded that you're watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we're still broadcasting from the OIC Conference Center here in Begilo, where the Gambia is currently hosting the 15th OIC Summit here in Banjul, the Gambia. Well, I mean, for the past couple of days, I mean, we've seen the senior government officials and ambassadors having their meeting, and today, I mean, we're going to witness the commencement of the meeting of the Council of Foreign Affairs Ministers here at the magnificent Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara Conference Center here in Begilo. The Gambia is hosting the summit on behalf of the African bloc, and then, I mean, from what has been years of preparation and months, today we are here at the Kairaba Jawara Conference Center to witness, I mean, this historic hosting of the OIC Summit by the Gambia, an organization which has 57 member countries. And joining me on this platform to discuss, I mean, what is coming ahead as far as this Foreign Affairs Ministers meeting is concerned, I have with me Mr. Modou Mbodj. Mr. Mbodj, good to have you on the program.
I'm glad to be here.
And as usual, Ansumana Esonyasi and Gulden Yai are still with me. Good to have you back once again.
Thank you, Aliu.
I hope you had a good break, right?
Well,
re-energized and, you know.
Sure, I think we're ready to go.
Well, let's get talking. Mr. Ade, I mean, any moment from now, we are going to witness the official opening of the Council of Ministers meeting. I mean, overall, I mean, looking at the journey, I mean, from what should have been in 2019 to now, I mean, like we said, there has been setbacks and delays to the hosting of this summit. But overall, in your own assessment, how significant is it for the country as small as we are, hosting about 57 member countries of the OIC, but equally we have observer countries, and of course there are countries who are not part of the OIC, but they have an interest as to what is being discussed here, also following from far and close.
Absolutely, Ali. I mean, if you put it in context, the idea of postponement, that wasn't unique to the country. Yeah. So no worries there. And to consider that this is really the third time when they're having this meeting in sub-Saharan Africa. Yeah. The two previous ones, all in Senegal. Yeah. The smallest country on mainland Africa. This is absolutely huge. So we must feel privileged, really, to be hosting it. And you get that sense among officials, whether similar sense of occasion was transferred onto the people out there, I'm not so sure. But as far as officialdom is concerned, you get that excitement that, you know, we've been given a privilege here. Come on, let's go out there and do the best that we can.
And those are live images you are seeing from the from within the hall where they're going to have the conference, the meeting actually. So those are live images you're getting. And like I said, this is QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station. And as usual, we do it in a style, and that's why we have been here since yesterday trying to give you all the happenings as far as the OIC Summit is concerned. Because for us at QTV, this is unique, this is historic, and it's just, you know, we are honored to be part of it. We are all, you know, grateful for actually witnessing, I mean, this historic moment. Who knows, maybe most of us might not live to witness it again, and that's why we are all happy that even despite the challenges of hosting the summit, we're here today, I mean, witnessing, the summit. But Mr. Mbodj, take us through, before I bring in my colleague Ansumana and Julde, the rationale behind, you know, forming this OIC. I mean, take us through. Do you think coming this far since 1969, the organization has been able to prove, or, you know, have been able to prove the purpose for which it was formed?
But this is the key. What was the purpose? You know, what were their objectives? We know that something happened in 1969 when there was an arson at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. From that reaction, they went to Rabat and said we need to formalize an association where we'll address common concerns. But you know that the idea was in the air. Going back to 1924, the founder of Saudi Arabia, Abdul Aziz, first convened a Congress, you know, where they addressed common ideas, you know, common issues. So in time, this became formalized, really, with this OIC. So that's really the background. So now how much has been achieved? You can put it that way, because after all, just think about it, the long shadow of Al-Aqsa Mosque, this was in 1969, last year, 7th of October. Well, when Hamas came, they called their Operation Al-Aqsa Flood or Deluge. See, the problem is still there, the long shadow. So how much has been achieved? But again, what's really achievable given the nature of this organization? Mainly a political one, But again, the members within are not really superpowers. They're not really powerful in that way. And when you look at in so many areas, they've never really had a common political stance on issues. But how can you? It's a massive organization. You're never going to have that. But again, I'm sure we'll go into this later. There are other areas in which they are so relevant. They're doing so much. So really, the criticism is, politically, given its size, perhaps it should have had more authority, more influence. But it appears as if not really. And then, you know, people can debate all sorts of things.
Well, viewers, delegates are still coming into the conference center. There's the Sadao the Kairaba Jawara International Conference Center, constructed and funded by China at a grant of $50 million, which was inaugurated by the president a couple of years ago, and today it serves as one of the, of course, the biggest conference centers we have in this country, and no wonder it is just the ideal place to host this magnificent, OIC summit. And Sumana, any moment from now, we will get into the formal opening of the Council of Foreign Affairs meeting. What are you anticipating?
Well, I think this meeting of the foreign ministers, Council of Foreign Ministers, is actually one of the key highlights of the OIC summit in general. They basically set the agenda, and I think for me, it's a very, very important meeting. And of course, as everyone else, I am looking forward to what the end product is going to be, which would come in the form of a communique at the end of the summit itself. And this is where countries would put forward their positions, and then you will have all the agreements and disagreements happen before the summit itself. So I am anticipating quite a long session, perhaps a little tense, as we've seen last night.
And there you have the Secretary General of the OIC, Hussein Taha, who is actually from Chad, who is the current Secretary General of the OIC. There, you're seeing on the screens, like you said, delegates are coming in.
Sure.
It's almost like the hall is almost full. For someone who is watching, you are seeing a different OIC setup. It's different from what we used to see when we attend conferences at the OIC Conference Center.
Quite beautiful.
A total change in the sitting arrangements, and quite good.
Yeah, it tells you just how important this is. But again, like I said, I'm looking forward to very, very, very interesting meeting, in the sense that this summit comes at a time, like I said earlier, in the morning, it comes at a time where there's a lot happening around the world, especially on the global stage. And I think Mr. Mboj has really made a very salient point there, a very, very salient observation. The fact that despite its size, and the composition of its membership, the organization don't seem to really have much influence or authority when it comes to some very important matters, especially on the global stage. And I think the fact that it also comes in the middle of course, we know that in the Middle East and also in the Gaza Strip, that conflict has been ongoing for decades now. But the fact that it comes when we have an ongoing, very intense war, that now has tongues, people talking about it all over the place, and even superpowers being involved in that conversation in some way. I think it makes this summit even more, maybe not interesting, but I wouldn't want to use that word, but let's say it helps you to understand why it has garnered so much attention. And so I think for me, this is a very crucial moment in history. We know they've always had the issue of Palestine, it's always at the top of the agenda. But at the end of the day, would we see a consensus as to the approach to solving some of these issues that the organization seeks to address? That has mainly been the problem. Not what should happen, but how.
Thank you very much. Ansumana Esenyasi, well, those flags you are seeing are the flags of the 57 members of the Organization of the Islamic Cooperation. 57. We know some heads of state will be attending the summit already. All the foreign affairs ministers are here, and those are still the convoys of the delegates arriving here at the OIC Conference Center. luxurious vehicles. Part of trying to make the Gambia counts, trying to prove that despite our size, we have what it takes to host a magnificent summit like the OIC, like any other country.
Facilitated by the Q Group.
Exactly, and then almost 87 of these brand new vehicles are facilitated by the Q Group, and we have to commend the Q Group, and of course Mohammed as a private citizen, and of course a businessman coming into show his patriotism as far as the country is concerned. At the end of the day, like we always say, yes, Gambia is hosting, but this is something that every Gambian should be proud of, and all of us, we can all contribute in any measure or anyhow as far as the successful hosting of this summit is concerned. But let me now bring you in here. Like I said, any moment from now we are going to witness the official opening of the Council of Ministers meeting. Very important highlights, very important convergence, because like Ansumana said, it lays the foundation. The heads of state will just be coming after just to ratify most of the agreements that will emerge from this meeting.
No doubt, for the fact that they are the main decision-making body, and also they implement policies, general policies, in addition to adopting the decisions and resolution pertaining to the common interest of the OIC member countries. They play a crucial role, but like Mr. Mbosh and Ansumana mentioned earlier on, 55 years after its existence, were they able to achieve the objectives in which they were set up? After 55 years of existence, the conversation now should be, what new role or what new initiatives are they really coming up with as far as tackling the issue in Gaza is concerned, the conflict, happening in the Middle East, and all of that, ensuring that there is peace, in the world. They have a huge challenge. It's not an easy one, really, because, after 55 years of existence, what would have, this goes to show the magnitude of the issue at hand. It's not a child's play. It's not something that is easy. So whether now the conversation is whether now they will have a paradigm shift as to their main objectives or not, but that is subjected to debate. But after 55 years of existence, if they are not able to achieve that, what other initiatives are they coming up? What mode of operandi are they really coming up? Their policies. How are they going to scrutinize these policies, their resolutions? How are they going to ensure that it is attainable but also achievable? When the resolutions that they are making, it's not just sitting, making up resolutions, recommendations, but also it's important to ask these critical questions whether it is attainable at the end of the time, because it has been far too long that every summit they come together, and then the issue of Palestine issue has always been atop of their agenda, because it is one of the main reasons why the organization was set up in the first place. So, what other initiatives are they coming up with to tackle the issue of Gaza? I know that the theme for this summit is very important because it has to do with dialogue. Well,
Ansumana, Jude, I'll just interject. Those are the delegates still walking into the conference center here in Bigilo, the Gambia. You're watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we are broadcasting live from the OIC conference center here in Bigilo, named after the first president of the Gambia, Sadawda Kairaba Jawara, who actually led the Gambia to actually join the OIC in 1974. He was a key figure in actually ensuring there's peace during that war in Iraq and Iran. But just, Mr. But take us through. Aside from the issue of Palestine, what other issues do you think will top the agenda, or should top the agenda of this summit?
Many things. Yemen, there's Yemen as well. There's been the problems in Afghanistan,
Lebanon,
and even in Africa, Sudan, what's been going on there, Somalia. So no doubt in their communique we'll have resolutions, referring to all these trouble spots around the world, and this is really what they are here for. So now we were talking about the Council of Foreign Ministers. This is really the second highest decision-making body. You have the summit, of course, and then when you have
several committees.
But this is where they do the legwork.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, that's one element. Yeah. And be carefully here. These ministers that you see today, one of them could possibly be the Secretary General later, because we've seen former foreign affairs ministers becoming Secretaries General, like the correct one, he's in Brahim Taha, who took over from Muhammad.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who is now the chairman of the commission. So this is it, and these are the people who really monitor the implementation of resolutions, policies, and decisions. That's why they meet annually. So really, all the work is done by the Council of Foreign Ministers, really. So they're absolutely key, absolutely central to this whole thing.
How significant was it for the Gambia joining the party in 1974?
It was. I mean, because by then, we also remember that with President Jawara, I mean, the main plank of his whole strategy was to have good international relationships.
Yeah.
So he went out courting friendships. But again, that was how we got so much of what we had, so that we could invest, and the modest gains that we managed to implement to that. Obviously, we got from these people. Remember, in the 1980s, the Sahel, for instance, there was a drought. The OIC gave the whole Sahel $120 million. Can you imagine? Adjusting for inflation, it's a lot of money. So it was very important for us. And Jawara, the former president, Sadara Kereba Jawara, held many key positions within the executive committee. And he was one time, yes, of course, chairman of the Peace Committee. And you know that with the standing committee system, only presidents, kings, and prime ministers can head them. And this was a period during the Iran-Iraq war. So he was busy. You can imagine that it was busy. And they held him in such regard to give him to head that very important body at that moment. So during the former president's tenure, we had a big voice. Absolutely. Within the OIC, we had respect, big voice within the OIC.
Just before I bring in Ansumana and Jude for the sake of our local language followers, I mean, you earlier on mentioned the lack of authority despite, being formed in 1969. What do you think are the reasons for the OIC not having the authority, like you said earlier?
But this is
like they lack the authority.
No, but this is it. There is a lack of having a common political stance on things. So you really cannot have that. And for instance, when you take, the founding cause, as it were, in Palestine, that is really extremely difficult, given that they've got support from America and the West. What can the OIC possibly do? But let us be careful here. They've got 13 organs.
Yeah. A lot
so
of them.
they're into all sorts of things.
Cultural, education,
social,
technology.
Technological, there are all sorts of things. So when we judge them, of course we take into account the founding cause, and given that it's still going on, but that must not be the sole criterion on which they are judged, given what the task that they've given themselves, creating all these organs and then giving them tasks to do, having to do with economic, social, cultural, and all sorts of things. So we must take a more nuanced view in really assessing their achievements or failures.
And what do you think will make the Banjul Summit different from the previous summits?
This is absolutely the key. With Jawara's strategy, he called it Afro-Arab Cooperation. This was when the organization was in that nascent period, so perhaps more political things, ideas, issues really dominated the thinking. But what I've seen with our theme, enhancing unity and solidarity through dialogue and sustainable development. I like that idea, because for some of us, we think that really the political agenda is there, but perhaps we've not been doing much on the developmental agenda. Whether Banjul can champion that aspect, where we concentrate more on perhaps getting help from other OIC members, but so that we invest in key areas, build our economy, our industries. What are the economic national priorities? Can we get people to have a more developmental agenda? You see, when I compare our theme and what they had in Saudi Arabia, even in Saudi Arabia, the last time was in 2019, the Mecca summit, joining hands together and that sort of thing.
And
it was
in
more
Turkey,
political.
it was more about peace,
Peace. But here, the addition of sustainable development, so my thinking is we'll give it a more developmental slant, and then hopefully, because that's really what is in our interest. So we'll do more more on that. Hopefully, this will be the key. Developmental aspect.
It's always a pleasure to share a platform with Mr. Mboch. I mean, you tend to learn a lot from him. Thank you so much for always joining us and sharing your thoughts exactly with us. Baringolo melbe QTV Cube kangal bisimila jang potenka flente moto na intermento ikahme the Council of Foreign Affairs Ministers ila bengo menyenta kela abe commencé la bile aning atemela inshallah bengo nyimbe dabela la kairaba conference ta jang comme nga fayla nyamen QTV mbe jang pour que fengo fe mena ko wolbe kela jang ka natali atu mena ko albala so kono albe QTV folo ko intermento délégué so wolbe futakan dan al nyaba la motol be dungoni finto wala o délégué so wala binaka wala mo foreign affairs ministers kato ila nyimete fana kumata bakela al nyabe melata wala mo holo nyinti sa dawda kayda ba jawara conference ta jang al nyabe la mol bebe serin sa nyinti min sa fono all the OIC members ila foreign affairs ministers wala ila representative wol bebe Gambia jane pour que mabe nying meeting kuma ba wala mo this council of foreign affairs ministers meeting wala mi ala ko wala nyanta commencer la bi anin soma mbokk nga may ina ngi seetaan QTV di leen dalalaat ne delsi waat ne fii pour indi leen li nga xam ne moo nekk di formal opening of the Council of Foreign Affairs Ministers li nga xam ne jotaay bu am solo la parce que dafa bokk si jotaay boo xam ne jotaay bu gën a am solo ci wàllu OIC summit bi naam dëgg la njiiti réew yi dinañ ñëw fekkee li nga xam ne mooy que di main summit moo nekk Saturday ak Sunday waaye meeting bi dafa am solo trop parce que meeting bi mooy teg xeer bi pour woon gars yi ne lan la ñuy waxtaanee lan mooy nekk jubluwaay bi lan moo war a nekk di outcome of the summit meeting boobu nag moo war a ñëw commencé fii nga ne moo nekk Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara Conference Center fii ci Bijilo comme ni ma ko waxee rek QTV ñu ngi fii pour indi leen lépp loo xam ne moo fi xew fii nga ne moo nekk Sir Dawda Jawara Kairaba Conference Center musidɓe angol ɓe ndaɗa QTV mi mimo bisimilla kadi min garti pour adana mo ganduɗa ko ɗum woni opening of the Council of Ministers Foreign Affairs Ministers ɗo ɗo Kairaba Jawara Conference Center comme noon gonɗon yirde télé mon rek on ɗo joni ministre ji fof jooɗima monande ɓoytare inchallah ɓe puɗɗo to ganduɗa ko ɗum woni audit go o meeting ganduɗa ko meeting moɗɗo solo he kadi homo tawa he ganduɗa ko ɗum woni OIC summit o ɗo Gambia comme no mbirmomi rek QTV mboɗon ɗo pour adandema kala ganduɗa ko ɗum hewata ɗo ɗo OIC Conference Center Ansumana josma indila rek kilo gata rek amin yangi dega Mr. Mbodj ɗum ɗon jama garal amin taari kadi ngane mone kadi OIC summit way nak lan lañ wara sentu lan mo wara tax ñu naan the Banjul summit is different a summit with difference nekkul just si projects yi muy àndal pour dëkk bi waaye after the summit lan la adna bi mën a seetaan ñu ne waaw Banjul summit was different in terms of implement li nga ne moo nekk di resolutions.
waaw xam nga Mr. Mbodj indil nañu taarix ci OIC ba mu sosoo ba tey lana tax ñu sos ko ak tamit yéen a ci liggéey nga xam ne def nañ ko ci diggante bi summit bi nag lii tax mu uteeg yeneen summit yi xëj na du bëri waaye foog naa li ci unique mooy dafa nekk di am ci jamono boo xamante ne soo gëstoo ci réew yu jullit yu bëri rawatina réew yu jullit yi nekkee ci boori Middle East bi fitna nga fa te waaw Aliou.
So I understand the opening is about the comments here at the Sir Dawda Jawara Conference Center. We will now take you to the main hall where the opening ceremony is taking place, and I will be back later. Let's take a listen.
آياته لعلكم تهتدون لكم منكم أمة يدعون إلى الخير ويأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر وأولئك هم المفلحون صدق الله العظيم.
صدق الله العظيم. اسمحوا لي أصحاب المعالي والسعادة بكلمة افتتاحية. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. معالي وزير الخارجية والتعاون الدولي بجمهورية غامبيا، أصحاب السمو المعالي وزراء الخارجية في الدول الأعضاء، معالي الأمين العام لمنظمة التعاون الإسلامي السيد حسن إبراهيم طه، الإخوة الكرام، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يسرني ابتداء أن أرحب بكم جميعا أجمل ترحيب في مستهل هذا الاجتماع التحضيري لوزراء الخارجية للدورة 15 لمؤتمر القمة الإسلامي. كما أود أن أتقدم لجمهورية غامبيا قيادة وحكومة وشعبا بالشكر الجزيل على حسن الاستقبال وكرم الحفاوة والوفادة، وأنتهز هذه السانحة لتهنئة جمهورية غامبيا الشقيقة بلد الطموح والتطلعات والسلام بتولي رئاسة الدورة 15 للقمة الإسلامية لمنظمة التعاون الإسلامي اعتبارا من يوم السبت، سائلا المولى عز وجل أن تتكلل الجهود بالنجاح وتحقق ما تصبو إليه أمتنا الإسلامية من أمن وسلام ورخاء وازدهار. كما تقدم بالشكر لمعالي الأمين العام للمنظمة والأمانة العامة ولكافة العاملين فيها على جهودهم في الإعداد الجيد والتنسيق الوثيق لعقد هذا الاجتماع التحضيري للقمة الإسلامية التي تنعقد في وقت عصيب ودقيق وأحداث جسام، مؤكدا على أهمية منظمة التعاون الإسلامي باعتبارها منبرا وحيدا للعمل الإسلامي المشترك، وثاني أكبر منظمة حكومية متعددة الأطراف بعد الأمم المتحدة. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، بذلت المملكة العربية السعودية جهدها خلال رئاستها للدورة السابقة للقمة الإسلامية 14 في سبيل تعزيز العمل الإسلامي المشترك والدفاع عن قضايا العالم الإسلامي والمبادرة لكل ما من شأنه توحيد الصف وجمع الكلمة من خلال أجهزة منظمة التعاون الإسلامي كافة، ووظفت وسائل العمل متعدد الأطراف لتحقيق مساعيها الخيرة في خدمة القضايا الإسلامية وتصعيد هموم ومشاغل الدول الأعضاء إلى مستوى القرار العالمي في أورقة الأمم المتحدة ومجلس الأمن والعواصم المؤثرة في صناعة القرار من أجل إيجاد حلول عادلة للقضايا التي تؤرق عالمنا الإسلامي على مستوى الحكومات والشعوب. ونظرا لأن إحداث التأثير المطلوب يبدأ باجتماع الكلمة داخل منظمة التعاون الإسلامي والتنسيق الوثيق بين الدول الأعضاء، فقد استضافت المملكة العديد من الاجتماعات الرسمية على مستوى القادة والوزراء والمندوبين الدائمين لبحث القضايا والمشاغل المستجدة والتطورات المتسارعة التي شهدتها منطقتنا. كما بذلت المملكة جهودا حثيثة لمتابعة مقررات قمة مكة المكرمة والتعامل باهتمام بالغ مع تلك القضايا المطروحة على جدول أعمال منظمة التعاون الإسلامي. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، استهلت المملكة رئاستها للقمة الإسلامية 14 بتمويل واستضافة احتفال المنظمة بمناسبة مرور 50 عاما على تأسيسها برعاية كريمة من لدن خادم الحرمين الشريفين الملك سلمان بن عبد العزيز آل سعود يحفظه الله، لتتوالى النشاطات بالمشاركة الفاعلة في مناقشات الجلسة الثانية من جلسة تطارح الأفكار في إطار الإصلاح الشامل لمنظمة التعاون الإسلامي في جمهورية بنغلاديش في فبراير من عام 2020. وأنجز معهد الإدارة العامة السعودي دراسة هيكل الأمانة العامة تبرعا من حكومة بلادي واستجابة للقرارات الوزارية التي صدرت بهذا الشأن. كما استضافت المملكة المؤتمر الدولي حول المرأة في الإسلام الذي أصدر وثيقة جدة، وكذلك نظمت مؤتمر الوساطة الرابع ومؤتمر وزراء الشباب والرياضة. وقامت المملكة بتسديد المساهمات الإلزامية المتأخرة على الدول الأقل نموا إلى نهاية عام 2019 بمبلغ وصل إلى نحو 100 مليون ريال، وقدمت دعما لتلك الدول في إطار المنظمة من أجل توفير اللقاحات لكبار السن والممارسين الصحيين. كما استضافت المملكة الاجتماع الوزاري الأول لأجهزة إنفاذ القانون المختصة بمكافحة الفساد في الدول الأعضاء، والذي نتج عنه إقرار اتفاقية مكة المكرمة لمكافحة الفساد. وكان مسك الختام الرياض احتفال البنك الإسلامي للتنمية بمرور 50 عاما على تأسيس هذا الكيان المالي الضخم. أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، إن ما ذكر آنفا يمثل ملامح من حراك وجهد كبير بذلته المملكة منذ تسلمها رئاسة القمة الإسلامية الرابعة عشر، ونسبة الفضل لمن أسهم في نجاح مهمة دولة الرئاسة، فإن بلادي تتقدم بالشكر الجزيل للدول الأعضاء على تعاونها الوثيق والتنسيق الدائم، كما تتقدم بالشكر للأمانة العامة نظير تعاونها مع رئاسة القمة وعلى إسهاماتها المقدرة في مختلف الفعاليات والتي حولت التحديات إلى فرص مواتية بحمد الله تعالى. الإخوة الكرام، تمثل القضية الفلسطينية ثابتا من الثوابت الراسخة لسياسة المملكة الخارجية، وأولوية ومبدأ لا تحيد عنها حتى ينال الشعب الفلسطيني حقوقه المتمثلة في إقامة دولته المستقلة وفق ما قررته المرجعيات الدولية. واستجابة للتصعيد المستمر والحرب الإسرائيلية على قطاع غزة، دعت المملكة إلى استضافة القمة العربية الإسلامية المشتركة غير العادية، التي تعتبر الأولى من نوعها، التي تجتمع فيها جامعة الدول العربية ومنظمة التعاون الإسلامي في قمة مشتركة من أجل هذه القضية العربية الإسلامية والإنسانية العادلة. وقد شكلت تلك القمة منعطفاً نوعياً في تنفيذ قراراتها بتشكيل لجنة وزارية مشتركة تتحرك في زيارات متواصلة لعواصم صناعة القرار ومجلس الأمن من أجل بلورة موقف دولي لوقف الحرب على غزة والضغط من أجل إطلاق عملية سياسية جادة لتحقيق السلام الدائم والشامل وفقاً للمرجعيات الدولية. كما دعت المملكة أيضاً إلى عقد اجتماعات استثنائية لمجلس وزراء خارجية الدول الأعضاء لبحث العدوان المتواصل على الشعب الفلسطيني، وبذلت جهود كبيرة في سبيل إيصال الدعم والمساعدات إلى الشعب الفلسطيني في غزة من خلال مركز الملك سلمان للإغاثة والأعمال الإنسانية، حيث وصلت التبرعات التي قدمت في هذا السبيل أكثر من 700 مليون ريال. كما دعمت جهود الأنروا في ظل ما تواجهه من تحديات بمبلغ يتجاوز 150 مليون ريال. أيها الإخوة والأخوات، إن تعزيز الوحدة والتضامن بين شعوبنا ودولنا وعدم التدخل في الشؤون الداخلية للدول تمثل ثوابت وركائز أساسية لمنظمتنا العريقة، الأمر الذي يستدعي استمرار الجهود المشتركة الساعية لإحلال الأمن والاستقرار. واستلهاما للمبادئ التي قامت عليها منظمة التعاون الإسلامي واستشعارا للمسؤولية تجاه الأشقاء، دعت المملكة لاجتماعات رسمية طارئة لمناقشة الوضع في جمهورية السودان ودولة أفغانستان الشقيقتان. وفي هذا السياق قدمت المملكة
Hello viewers, you're still watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we are broadcasting from the OIC Conference Center here in Bigelow. And as you have been watching, the opening of the Foreign Affairs Council meeting is currently underway here at the OIC Conference Center. And you have heard from the official, they are speaking in Arabic. I mean, signifying the importance of this meeting. And of course, I mean, most of the delegates here will be commending the Gambia for hosting the summit. Mr. Mboj, finally, the opening ceremony is currently underway. I mean, like I said, I mean, looking at the hall, I mean, the attendance, what do you make of the attendance?
Well, from what we can see now on our screen, it looks like a full attendance. But again, of course, you know, there are 57 countries, you know, minus the Gambia, we are the host. Out of the 56, how many are here? Do we know?
Yeah.
Even with the Council of Ministers, do we have all of them?
Yeah.
The Council of Foreign Ministers, you know, and
All of them are here. Even the Turkish foreign minister is here.
So absolutely, yes, you are right. Of course, all of them will thank. It's a bit unfortunate there. We couldn't understand what he said. I hope that we can rectify that. We can redress that. And yes, you understand that the niceties, the diplomatic niceties, we'll go through the diplomatic niceties, and then of course we'll say the usual stuff about cooperation, peace, and defending the Ummah, you know, the common interests of the Ummah. And that sort of language, the sort of diplomatic language, obviously. Yeah. That's what you expect from foreign affairs ministers, really.
So, I mean, like I said, the opening is underway. Mr. Mboj is saying, I mean, I guess, I mean, the technicians will work that out, and so, you know, we get, I mean, the English channel for this broadcasting, because we know actually, exactly. So, I mean, Ansumana Julde opening bi door na na ngeen gisee turnout bi ci liñ jot a gisagum ci screen si.
Foog naa liñ jot a gisagum ci screen si fees na boot ndax hall bi dafa mel ni dafa fees ba pare jot nañ xibaar te foog naa mun nañoo déggal fi mu nekk ne réew yi nga xam ne ñoo nekk ci OIC yëpp seen foreign affairs ministers mooy
seen representative
waaw seen jawriñ yi nga xamante ne ñoo yor wàllum bitim réew wala ñu leen fi toogal mun nañoo déggal leen ñun fii
kooku def mel ni Modou Tangara la sun the minister of the Gambia's minister of foreign affairs moo nekk noonu mu ngi nuyu wante ak ñi nga xam ne ñoom dañ dalal fii ci Gambia comme xam nañ ne foo ñu delloo ko jaaraama foreign affairs minister Modou Tangara nekk na nit koo xam ne dafa wala taxaw si fii OIC summit bi because dëkk yu bari baro du dee mun a dem moom moo dee dem te man dafa nekk ni ko xam ne dama ko respect trop Tangara dafa xam liggéeyam xam diplomatie nekk area boo xam ne macha allah mun nañ wax ne def na liggéeyam trop pour just dem meet partners yi jéem a request support you know ak yooyu yëpp taxawaayam si OIC summit hosting bi kenn du ko lam-laame.
foog naa Tangara Aliou nekk na doomi réew boo xam ne ñëpp war nañ ko mën a puugaroo ci jamono ji ndig liggéeyam ak taxawa waaye looloo tey ñu teg ko fa te mu ngi def liggéeyam foog naa baax na nit ñi tam di rafetlu contribution am waaye di wax ne rek Aliou summit bi daal li ma gis a gum ci ñoo xam ne ñoo ne ci biir hall bi fees na bot Mr. Mboj indil nañu lim foog ne te foog naa ñun ñëpp loolu mooy gëm-gëm bi ne loolooy bokk ci formalité si mooy gërëm réew Gambia ci dalal bi ñu leen dalal fii waaye gën a dëgëralaat rek seen kàddu ne dinañ continuer di jokkoo di liggéey ak réew yi nga xamante ne ñoo ne ci umma bi te ñu bokk ci OIC bi waaye tamit dinañ seet ni ñoo def pour lépp loo xamante ne bokk nañ ci gis-gis te mu nekk ci interest yi commission organisation bi tamit ñu taxaw ba gis ne loolu am na foog naa xam naa ñu ñëpp am nañ yaakaar ne loolu la doon wax noonu ci arab naam ne dégg la dégguñu arab
waaye xaaral de est-ce que da nga nekk assume wala lan
waaw loolu mooy góor
parce que man ok xam nga ok pour
yow déggoo arab boobu leer na Paul yow Paul nga dégg
buñ doon dem daara moom dafa toojoon
waaw bu ma jaal parce que
yow Paul nga dégg boobu leer na waaye foog naa loolu mooy gom-gom bi ndax xam nañ ne li ñoo def yëpp li ci ëpp yëpp diplomatie laa doon foog wax bi jaar
yoon. Youssoufa Touré wala Aliou Diallo ñoom war nañu mën a dimbale.
déedéet
wala bu dee caaman jaam ngeen seetaan imam
xam nga bala ngaar ak ñoom yi du ñoo laaka arab waaw Paul la ñoo laaka waaye on a serious note foog naa Aliou gom-gom bi mooy ne li ëpp ci li ñoo wax foog mu jaar yoon ànd it ak luwa ànd ak tegin ànd ak aada ak cosaani islam kon foog mu doon wax bu teey te xam nañ ne nit du la dalal sa biir si biir réewam wala kiram sax te doo ko gërëm ci loola especially koo xamante dafa dalal pour ngeen waxtaan yéen ñëpp soxla boo leen bokk kon gëm nañ ne daal naam na dégguñu arab
sorry we can now go back to the hall where the opening ceremony is underway. Let's take a listen.
De la coopération internationale et des Gambiens à l'extérieur, Excellence Monsieur Khalid Al-Khireji, vice-ministre des Affaires étrangères du Royaume d'Arabie Saoudite, Altesse, Excellence, honorables chefs de délégation, Mesdames et Messieurs, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Je tiens également à saluer le grand peuple gambien et ses dirigeants sous la conduite de son Excellence le Président Adama Barrow pour avoir accueilli cette nouvelle rencontre islamique. J'exprime ma reconnaissance pour tous les efforts déployés et les dispositions prises en vue d'assurer l'accueil et l'hospitalité à nous tous et de garantir le bon déroulement des travaux de ce sommet. J'ai également le plaisir d'exprimer ma profonde gratitude au Royaume d'Arabie Saoudite, sous la conduite du serviteur de des Saintes Mosquées, le roi Salman bin Abdelaziz Al Saoud, et de son Altesse royale le prince Mohammed bin Salman, prince héritier et Premier ministre, puisse Allah les préserver pour le rôle important qu'il joue et les efforts précieux qu'il a consentis durant sa présidence du 4e sommet islamique. Je voudrais également saluer toutes les initiatives que le Royaume a entreprises dans l'objectif de renforcer l'action islamique commune et de raffermir la solidarité entre les États membres. Je réitère mes remerciements et ma gratitude à son Altesse le Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saoud, ministre des Affaires étrangères du Royaume d'Arabie Saoudite, pour le soutien, la coopération et la coordination dont nous avons toujours bénéficié de sa part sur les divers sujets intéressant l'OCI et l'action islamique commune. Excellences, Mesdames, Messieurs, j'exprime mes vifs remerciements et ma gratitude aux États membres pour leur soutien constant à l'OCI et leur sollicitude, ce qui a eu pour effet les plus positifs sur l'amélioration des activités de l'organisation dans divers domaines. C'est la raison pour laquelle nous nourrissons de grands espoirs quant à ce nouveau sommet islamique qui aura l'impact très positif sur nos travaux et l'appui à nos efforts visant à défendre les causes de l'OCI vers de nouveaux horizons qui permettront au monde islamique de surmonter ces crises et d'assurer un avenir plus prospère et plus radieux à ses peuples. Notre présent sommet revêt une importance particulière compte tenu des graves développements qui connaissent la cause palestinienne à la lumière des crimes génocidaires et anti-humanitaires commis par les forces d'occupation contre le peuple palestinien désarmé à Gaza et dans les territoires palestiniens occupés, ce qui exige de notre part le renforcement de l'action commune et la solidarité islamique en appui à la cause palestinienne et aux droits légitimes du peuple palestinien, conformément à nos propositions exprimées lors de nos récentes réunions. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, dans mon rapport soumis au sommet islamique, j'ai passé en revue les efforts déployés par notre organisation dans les divers domaines politiques, humanitaires, juridiques et organisationnels, économiques, scientifiques et technologiques. Mon discours au sommet comprendra une brève présentation des défis auxquels le monde islamique se trouve confronté dans des domaines ainsi que nos efforts conjoints à lever les défis. Excellences, Mesdames, Messieurs, je tiens à cette occasion à réitérer mes félicitations à toutes les institutions de l'OCI pour leur collaboration et leurs efforts en faveur de la concrétisation des divers programmes et projets au profit de nos États membres. En conclusion, je réaffirme mon engagement personnel ainsi que celui du secrétariat général à œuvrer à la réalisation des objectifs à nous assigner tels que stipulés dans les résolutions du sommet islamique et du Conseil des ministres des Affaires étrangères. Je souhaite plein succès à nos délibérations والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Secrétaire Général, pour cette brillante allocution. Now I will have the singular honor to give myself the floor as chair. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Your Excellency Walid Abdul Karim Al-Khareji, Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs, representing His Highness Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, outgoing chair. Your Excellency Mr. Hussein Ibrahim Taha, Secretary General of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, honorable ministers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is with great pleasure and humility that I extend a warm welcome to all of you gathered here today for this preparatory ministerial meeting of the 15th Organization of Islamic Cooperation Summit. Your acceptance of our invitation is a testament to your commitment to the solidarity, unity in the Ummah. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the heads of delegations, ambassadors, and all those who have tirelessly worked on the draft final communique, the resolution on Palestine and Gaza, and the Banjul Declaration, which are to be reviewed and adopted at the summit. Your dedication and hard work have been instrumental in shaping the agenda and program for our upcoming gathering. I also commend the Secretary General of the OIC and his staff for their diligent efforts in preparing these important documents over the past months. Their professionalism and dedication to serving the Ummah have been invaluable in advancing our collective aspirations and objectives. The documents before us today reflect the breadth of issues that will be addressed at the summit, covering political, economic, social, and cultural concerns. They serve as a compass guiding our discussions and actions toward achieving unity, solidarity, and sustainable development. As we gathered here, let us not forget the pressing issues facing our Ummah, including social inequalities, terrorism, Islamophobia, racism, and others. These are challenges that require our collective attention and action. The agenda of the 15th summit focuses on the following main issues: Palestine, conflict situations in the Muslim world, pursuit of peace, justice, security, stability, sustainable development, among others. Our organization's efforts with regard to these issues so far are commendable, but we should not rest on our laurels. We must continue in our efforts to ensure that we rise to these challenges. At the summit, President of the Gambia will highlight some of these thorny issues, emphasizing the need for justice and equity in addressing them. The main objectives of the summit, based on the theme enhancing unity and solidarity through dialogue and sustainable development, underscore the Gambia's commitment to achieving these goals during its tenure as chair. Ministers, let us leverage the significance of this theme to further the interests and values of the Ummah through dialogue and cooperation. We can foster greater unity and solidarity among member states, paving the way for sustainable development and prosperity. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as this summit is hosted by the Gambia on behalf of the African region, let us consider how the African region in particular can benefit from our collective efforts by addressing the unique challenges facing African member states. We can ensure that the benefits of unity and solidarity are felt across the continent. For example, initiatives aimed at promoting intra-African trade and investment can stimulate economic growth and create employment opportunities. Furthermore, collaboration on infrastructure development projects can improve connectivity and facilitate trade flows within the region. Additionally, efforts to enhance education and healthcare services can empower African communities and contribute to human capital development. By investing in sustainable agriculture and renewable energy, we can address food security and environmental challenges while promoting economic resilience. I urge all my colleagues and heads of delegation and participants to work closely with the Gambia to ensure that the OIC Summit delivers tangible benefits for the African region. Together, let us harness the power of unity and solidarity to uplift our nations and build a brighter future for generations to come. Pour conclure, j'invite tous les participants à joindre l'utile à l'agréable et à explorer les différentes opportunités en matière d'investissement en Gambie et de profiter de leur séjour pour connaître le pays qui se fait appeler la côte souriante de l'Afrique. Et considérez que vous êtes chez vous. Je vous souhaite d'excellentes délibérations dans l'intérêt supérieur de notre Oumma. Que Dieu nous protège. Je vous remercie. Now this is the end of the ceremonial part of the event, and we'll invite the media to leave the room and some of the invited guests, because we are entering the closed session. So we'll give you a few minutes with your indulgence to vacate the room, please. Thank you.
There you had the Gambia's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Gambia International Cooperation and Gambians Abroad, Dr. Mamadou Tangara. They are delivering his statement on the formal opening of what will be a closed-door session of the Council of Foreign Affairs Ministers meeting here as part of the ongoing OIC hosting here in the Gambia. I mean, you have heard from the Honorable Minister. I mean, they are emphasizing the need for OIC to come together to help address, I mean, what he describes as the political, economic, social, and cultural concerns within the Muslim Ummah, but notably, I mean, the ongoing conflicts in Palestine, of course, and Israel. He also calls for the need for more solidarity within the Ummah to help improve the lives and livelihoods of the people. Mr. Mbochi, you have heard from on Honorable Minister Dr. Mamadou Tangara, but before him we had also other speakers who I am so were also speaking along the same lines as that of the Honorable Minister Dr. Mamadou Tangara. What do you make of the statements in this opening ceremony?
Really, that was really what you know we've been expecting. Really. So now the meeting proper, the Council of Foreign Affairs Ministers will begin to deliberate. But we already know the topics, as the minister said there, social inequalities, terrorism, Islamophobia, Palestine, conflict in the Muslim world. So these are all the things that they're going to agree on some resolution, which will be contained in the final communique. That's where you get all the resolutions. You'll get the declaration, but I think these are two different documents. The Banyan declaration it will be, but again with the longer version in the communique. So yes, these are the things that they're going to emphasize on. But he said something else, that intra-Africa trade and other aspects. So this is really what I want to be what we remember in many ways the Banjul Summit by, this idea of trade and the developmental agenda, helping, bringing in investors. And here we don't want, the relationship must not simply be a kind of patron-client relationship. Whenever we have a problem, you will give us financial support, financial that and financial that. We don't want that. We want a proper, mature engagement where people will come and invest. But again, it's not a charity. You will make your profits. When you invest, you need to make your profits. So that's really the aspect. and maybe that would be our stamp, as it were, on this OIC summit.
Mr. Nyasi, Jude,
Yeah.
apart from all the speakers there at the opening, I mean, what stood out for you?
I think Tangara's speech for me, I have to say the key highlight for
Or
me
maybe
would
well,
be
that's the one you
What you
understand what
understand.
you're saying.
well, very much so. I have to say, Ali, the key highlight for me in Tangara's statement is, how he's put emphasis on the need for the Banjul Summit to deliver tangible results. I think for me that is quite important. Of all the things he's mentioned, that is what really caught my attention, because at the end of the day, what you're looking at is results. And he's saying we must endeavor to ensure that this summit delivers tangible results. And how they would go about that is what we don't know, but I think it's good that at least we're hearing this, coming from the host country, calling on other member states to come together and ensure that all of these challenges that are confronting our ummah that we've identified and the common interests we have, how do we ensure that, this summit, this convergence we're having delivers the results we need? And I think for me that is quite important.
Jude?
Absolutely. A similar thing for me, for the fact that he highlighted the issues at hand, which is terrorism, the Palestine issue, extremism facing the Muslim Ummah, but also the need to rise up to the challenge and then act promptly in addressing these issues. And he mentioned the fact that there is a greater need to foster greater unity and solidarity, because without which, honestly, I don't think that all of these resolutions or recommendations would be realized. So really, for me, that stood out for me, for the fact that there is a greater need to foster unity and solidarity in addressing these issues, because it's obvious, everybody knows what the issues are, but how are they going to tackle them? How are they going to address them? They need concerted efforts, concrete and tangible, solutions to come up with that, to be able to address some of these things. Without which, it's just a resolution, it's just a document at the end of the day. So, what are they coming to do? What are the tangible issues that they are coming to do, the recommendations, and how they are going to achieve that? I think is very, very important. It's high time not just mention the issues, but also lay out solutions, issues that that you can put in place in order to actually solve those issues that is really confronting the Muslim Ummah, which I think is very, very important. And he also did mention that true, we have crisis, we have conflict, but let us not also forget about the social, economical, and the cultural aspect of it, which the organization has been doing so well.
Mr. Mboch, I mean, like you said, I mean, the main agenda of this summit is obviously going to look at the instability, the conflicts in Palestine. Generally, we know the standpoint of most of these, I mean, Muslim countries. I mean, when it comes to, I mean, at the UN General Assembly, we have seen so many countries actually, calling for a ceasefire and all those things. But it's going to be a closed-door meeting. Are you looking forward, or are you expecting to be a heated debate here and there when it comes to, having a consensus on certain issues?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Even though regarding this Israel-Palestine conflict, we've seen different responses amongst the Muslim world. You know what I mean? So I think anything that's going to be divisive, they might avoid it. Such organizations as the OIC tend to work on consensus. All right? So let us be careful here what we can expect. In the end, these resolutions are not binding. They're just declarations of the feelings, the thoughts, the intentions, what we want, the values of the leaders of the Muslim world. Yes? So, but there's something else. We had one bilateral, as far as I'm aware, meeting with Qatar the other day. So in these things, having lots of bilateral meetings, having networks, having agreements where you can get investments in so many different areas, that is in that way one of the ways that opportunities arise. Because whatever resolutions we take, given the size, the implementation, we have seen over the years how slow they have been, especially when we look at the founding cause, the issue of Palestine. It was mentioned there. You know that is as polarizing as it is intractable. It has proved itself to be so. So let us adjust expectations, yes, in certain areas, and perhaps in other development in other areas where we can have developmental cooperation, maybe in the economic sense, economic dimension, there are achievable things. Culturally, there could be achievable things, you know, socially. So you have all these different dimensions we can really where one can agree on things and you can implement and you see outcomes. So this is, for me, this is really the key, a matter of adjusting what we can expect, given the kind of organization it is, and given in the past what we have seen, then, you know, it wouldn't be simply a talking shop, because that is what you don't want these things to be.
Just before we wrap up, I mean, aside from the issue of Palestine, like you earlier mentioned, Sudan, Somalia, I mean, are you also anticipating some sort of division, or what are some of the things that you think might be some contentious issues that you think people might have a different stance? Especially Sudan, you know what is happening there, Somalia, and Libya as well.
But this is what we were talking about. It's just the usual stuff. You do not have common ideology, a common platform where they all rally around certain common key concepts, apart from the generalities, the abstractions. Peace, prosperity amongst everybody. I told you about potentially it could have been the Israel-Palestine.
Yeah.
That could have been really the potential problem here, hot potato, and you're seeing divisions. But I'm not sure whether they will allow any divisions really to surface in this. These organizations, the OIC, is a bit like the UN General Assembly in many ways. So they will work on consensus. I doubt if at the end of it you will hear really any divisive issues that sparked great debate, heated debate on that floor. I doubt it.
Interesting. Well, viewers, I mean, thank you very much, Mr. Mboch, Antimani Estonyasi, and Jordan Jai. Well, viewers, with that, we bring an end to today's live broadcast from the OIC Conference Center here in Bigilo on behalf of the team here, the panel and the production team, the cameramen, the technicians, and everyone who has been behind the scene. And so we have a fruitful coverage of today's activities. Thank you so much for watching. I mean, do join us tomorrow. We'll be back here to bring you tomorrow's engagements here as far as the ongoing OIC summit is concerned. But equally, I mean, we're going to have our news live from here at 8 p.m. Until then, have a wonderful evening, and bye-bye from me and the entire team. Bye.